Today we are going to start pectoral region anatomy. So it's very simple and very easy to learn the surface landmarks of the pectoral region. So it's so simple as that. So let us start with the pectoral region surface landmarks. So if you see, just by this diagram we are going to understand today the whole surface landmarks of the pectoral region. So the pectoral region is nothing but the front of the chest. This cavity, mainly this cavity, is called a pectoral region, where why this got this name, because it has pectoralis major muscle, pectoralis minor. You can see the names, which is just the front of the chest. This area is called as pectoral region. So the pectoral region is the one which is connecting the upper limb. It is connecting the upper limb to the anterior lateral chest wall. Anterior lateral to the chest wall is nothing but this one, right? It's medial, it's lateral. So medially to the chest wall you have the hand, laterally you have the sternum. So anterior lateral chest wall, it's connecting the upper limb to the anterior lateral of the chest wall. So let's start with the surface landmarks. So total we have 12 surface landmarks to understand today. So first we'll start with the first one. The first one is nothing but the clavicle. So clavicle, it's an horizontal bone, right? And it's starting at the root of the neck, right? At the root of the neck. This is the root of the neck. And one more thing, it's subcutaneous. Subcutaneous means just it's just covering, skin is just covering it on periphery. You can even palpate now, right? It's a subcutaneous bone. It's palpable. As it's subcutaneous, you can just easily palpate it. On palpation you can feel that bone. And if you observe, it's medial and lateral 1/3. So the medial 2/3, of course, already in my separate bone lectures I have explained. Once again let us see. The clavicle is divided into medial 2/3 and lateral 1/3. We know that one. So the medial 2/3 is mainly convex forwards. Convex means like this. It's an S-shaped bone, we already know. So the lateral 1/3 is concave. Okay. So now coming to the medial side. So medial side, the clavicle forms a sternoclavicular joint, according to its name only, with the sternum to the clavicle. So sternoclavicular joint on the medial side, very easy. On the lateral side it will form the acromioclavicular joint, that is with the acromion. Acromion is nothing but the scapular process, right? So with the acromion to the clavicle, so the name acromioclavicular joint. So everything is just according to its name, very simple. So these are the two joints which are formed by the clavicle. So both joints are palpable. If you see, you can now you can palpate, right? You can palpate the both medial joint as well as the lateral joint of the clavicle. And sometimes the sternoclavicular joint, the medial sternoclavicular joint is covered or masked by the sternocleidomastoid. That is also, you can see the name sternocleido. Sterno means with the sternum. Cleido means clavicle. Mastoid means it will coming from the mastoid. So sternocleidomastoid may sometimes mask it. Even though it is masking it, you can palpate it. Now coming to the second surface landmark, there is a jugular notch, also called as suprasternal notch. So exactly here you will feel the jugular notch. So it's an interclavicular, that is between two clavicles. As you have a clavicle on this side, of course it will also be on this side. So between the two clavicles, the notch which is present is a jugular notch. It's also called as suprasternal because it's above the sternum supra. So suprasternal notch. It's between the medial ends, both medial ends of the clavicle. And it's nothing but the superior border. It's the superior border of manubrium sternum. Sternum has manubrium body, right? So above the manubrium sternum, you will get the suprasternal notch. So the next we'll move on to the third surface landmark, that is the sternal angle. The sternal angle is here between the manubrium and the body, right? So this is the sternal angle, also called as angle of Lewis. So it's actually a transverse ridge just 5 centimeters below the jugular notch or the suprasternal notch. So below the suprasternal or jugular notch, you can find out the sternal angle. So this sternal angle is transverse ridge and it is marking the manubriosternal joint, and also it's having laterally on each side the second costal cartilage, or also you can say the second rib, right? So they join the sternum over here, and it's a landmark for second rib. So mainly, where is the second rib? If anyone asks, then you can easily answer, that is the sternal angle. So from there only actually we start the counting of ribs. So as you know, this is the second rib, you can easily count third, fourth, like that. So that, so on. So this is how we have easy way to count the ribs. So second rib is at sternal angle. Now coming to the epigastric fossa. So epigastric fossa will be somewhere over here, that is just depression in the infrasternal angle. Infrasternal angle means, here we have the scaphoid process. So just below this scaphoid process, infrasternal angle means scaphoid process with the body of the sternum form an infrasternal angle. So just below this you will have the epigastric fossa. This epigastric, in the word itself you can say gastric word means stomach. So it's nothing but the pit of the stomach. So depression in the infrasternal angle overlies the scaphoid process, and on each side it has a 7th costal cartilage. So on each side it has a 7th costal cartilage, because the infrasternal angle, the scaphoid process is in the just on its side it has a 7th costal cartilage. So this epigastric fossa may also overlie the scaphoid process. Next, coming to the nipples. The nipples are variable in male and also in female. But in the male and immature female they will be in the 4th intercostal space. So in the 4th intercostal space in male and also in immature female, which is just medial to the mid-clavicular line. Mid-clavicular line which is coming in the middle of the clavicle, right? So just medial to it. For example, this is mid-clavicular line. So just medial to it you will have the nipple, right? It's in the 4th intercostal space. And it's 10 centimeter from the mid-sternal line. Mid-sternal line means in the sternum, if you draw a line like this, so just 10 centimeters from it you will have the nipple. So now we will move on to the mid-clavicular line. So mid-clavicular line is the 6th surface landmark. Mid-clavicular line is, it's a vertical line which is coming from the tip of the 9th costal cartilage and also continues up to the mid-inguinal point. So it's a vertical line from the tip of 9th costal cartilage to the mid-inguinal point. Next, coming to the infraclavicular fossa. You can say this is clavicle. Infraclavicle means below the clavicle. Below the clavicle you have the fossa, that is called as infraclavicular fossa. So it is also called as deltopectoral triangle. Why it is called, I will explain. Because below the junction of, it's just below the junction of lateral and middle third of clavicle. This is lateral, this is middle. So just here, somewhere over here, you will find out the infraclavicular fossa or the deltopectoral triangle. So it is bounded medially by pectoralis major. Medially by pectoralis major. Why pectoralis major? Because pectoralis major takes its origin from the anterior surface of the clavicle. Already we have seen this. So here comes the pectoralis major. So it's a medial border for the infraclavicular fossa. And laterally you have the anterior fibers of deltoid. Deltoid come from the lateral side of the anterior side of the clavicle, right? So laterally it have deltoid, medially it will have the pectoralis major. In between that there is a triangle, hence it is called as deltopectoral triangle. So laterally you also have anterior fibers of deltoid, right? Superiorly you will have the clavicle. That's it, very simple. So this is a infraclavicular fossa. Next, coming to the tip of the coracoid process of scapula. If you see the coracoid process, this is a 8th surface landmark. So if you see the tip of coracoid process of scapula is just 2 to 3 centimeters below the clavicle, and it is tip of coracoid process may get overlapped by the deltoid muscle, because the deltoid muscle, because the deltoid muscle is arising from this lateral anterior side of the clavicle. So this tip of coracoid may be covered by the deltoid muscle. Next, coming to the acromion process of scapula. If you see, this is the acromion. So if you see, this is the acromion process of scapula, and this acromion is subcutaneous, even this you can feel, but on the lateral side, and it is present, it is forming the top of the shoulder and the posterior end. If you see the posterior end of lateral border. So if you see, the acromion have the medial border and the lateral border. In the lateral border posterior end, you will see an acromial angle, and that acromial angle is continuous with the lower lip of crest of spine of scapula. Already in the scapula I have discussed what is the spine, its upper lip, lower lip, right? So this acromion, lateral side, posterior way, it's having acromial angle, and that is continuous with the lower lip of the crest of spine of scapula. And if you see the acromion process, on its anterior and medial border, you will see the articulation with the clavicle to form the acromioclavicular joint. Next, coming to the deltoid muscle. Actually, the deltoid muscle is a triangular muscle. As I said, the deltoid will arise from the lateral side, right? So it is coming from this lateral side. Yeah, it is having an apex, and the apex is rounded, and it is it's downwards, and it is forming a contour of the shoulder, right? It will form the contour of the shoulder, and will extend vertically from acromion. It will extend vertically from acromion to the deltoid tuberosity of humerus. So deltoid tuberosity of humerus will be here. So from here to here it will come and will form the contour of the shoulder joint. When it's coming to axilla. So axilla, it's nothing but here. Axilla is an armpit, right? It's an armpit, it's pyramidal shape, and it is between the arm and the chest. If you say it's between the arm and the chest, that is a axilla, armpit, pyramidal. And whenever the arm is abducted means if you raise the arm, of course the floor of axilla rises. Because we are raising the arm, it's very simple. If you raise the arm, of course the floor of the axilla will rise. And anterior and posterior folds stand out. So you can see this is the anterior fold, and like that on back side you'll have posterior fold. So they both will stand out and the space will become more prominent. And if you see the anterior axillary fold, it's a lower border of pectoralis major. So the anterior axillary fold is nothing but it's a lower border of pectoralis major. And the posterior axillary fold, it's nothing but it is containing the tendon of latissimus dorsi, which is winding around the fleshy teres major. So the posterior border is mainly the forming by tendon of latissimus dorsi, and it will wind around fleshy teres major. And the medial wall of axilla, this is the medial wall, this is the lateral wall. So the medial wall of axilla is formed by first 4 ribs, and that too it is covered by the serratus anterior muscle. Whereas the narrow lateral wall is formed by upper part of humerus, and it is also covered by the short head of biceps coracobrachialis muscles. Now next, coming to axillary artery pulsations are felt by pressing the artery against humerus. So if you press the axillary artery against the humerus, you can feel the pulse of axillary artery, and cords of brachial plexus are rolled against it. Axillary artery pulsations felt by pressing the artery against the humerus. The cords of brachial plexus are rolled against them. Next, the head of the humerus. If you see the head of the humerus, it is felt by pressing the fingers upwards into the axilla. If you press the fingers upwards into axilla, you can feel the head. Even now you can try it. Next, coming to the last 12th surface landmark, that is the mid-axillary line. So mid-axillary line is nothing but in between the anterior axillary line and the posterior axillary fold. So in between them, if you draw a line, that will be a mid-axillary line. So it is a vertical line midway between the anterior and posterior axillary folds. So by this we have completed the pectoral region surface landmarks. Next we will start with the superficial fascia of pectoral region.